All right, good morning, everybody. Well, morning for me. This is going to be a championship video for Philosopher Cards League. Philosopher Cards made a league that took like two months or so with a bunch of members from his community, and these are the champions of Matt Dog NZ and Joffrey. They both made it to the finals here. We're gonna have two videos from their games. They played best of three. Joffrey round one, but honestly the recording was kind of long, and we have to cut something for time. But Joffrey round one, and then we'll go into round 2 and 3 here in a second. But I wanted to go over the decks. Matt Dogs here has a Avatar of Air list, and it's a mono air Avatar of Air list. 28 minions feels a little bit low to me. I would, in 4020, the power of Avatar of Air, one of them was it played a minion every single turn. It didn't matter what it was doing. It played a minion every single turn. Turn 2 from on, you played a minion. So I think a little bit higher minion count would be preferable for this kind of list. But Cloud Spirit, Highland Falconer is like a 2 mana 3/3, but across 2 bodies, so that's pretty decent. Heist Eagle, I learned new things with this. If the Heist Eagle is picking up a weaker minion, that minion ostensibly has flying, so you can pick up with Heist Eagle, and then you use your minion's movement ability to go over a perilous bridge or something, and Heist Eagle can stay at the site it picked up the minion at. So there's some weird ruling things to look out for at Heist Eagle. Headless Haunts are still very good in this kind of list. Phase Assassins are like really good on 2, played up on your opponent's site. Plumed Pegasus off of a tower. Withering Hero is just a 4/4 flyer. And Dapro Vampires, I've been playing a lot of Archimago recently, and Dapro Vampires just wins games by itself sometimes. A vampire into any kind of charge aggro placed well and safely and blocks something and gains 4 life can really turn the tide of some game going through. And I'd be remiss without saying Rolling Boulder in Avatar of Air. Rolling Boulder is absolutely nuts in Avatar of Air, and we learned that in 4020, and it's still good in 5030. It's just a little less common. Some spells here. Attack by Night is an interesting one, giving your units first strike. Can be good in situations. Cast to Exile is a mono air hard removal. It feels very akin to like a drown to me, because you have to wait for your opponent to be on your site. But Avatar of Air can push things around and then cast to Exile them without getting hit, so that's really good there. And so the mono air version of Avatar of Air is still playing like Bottomless Pits and Free Cities, because these are both defensive and offensive sites. You could push your opponent's minions into these sites and really like have profitable trades, and where you're not expending resources, but you're eating one of their cards. Sinkholes for great tempo. Place Sinkhole on the play on turn 3. Attack your opponent's second site, and then Sinkhole their second site. You're now on 2. You have two minions on top of them, and you can really suffocate your opponents with Sinkhole on the play on turn 3. So, yeah, very, very, very nice job getting to the finals here, Matt Dog. I'm going over to Joffrey. Joffrey's list is a little bit different. Joffrey is playing a Avatar of Air list that has been going around, and I think it was popularized by Astral or Casey. It's got Onyx core, because Threshold for Avatar of Air is kind of an interesting challenge to balance. You want air sites everywhere, but you also need to hit double Earth for your Pudge Butchers, Phalanx, and Autumn Unicorns. It's very similar to like an Avatar of Earth splash build, because you really only want to splash a 1 pip thing. So this double Threshold is pretty rough. Again, with the Headless Haunts, Kettle Tops, the quote the nickname that's been going around is a baby boy for these dudes. These guys are amazing. They're so much better than land surveyors. The double power really like helps them trade a lot. Like this guy with a desert or this guy with a trinket or takes care of 3/3s. Like kettle tops are awesome. Withering Hero is back. See, and then we have three Dacryl vampires here. Vampires are also one pip for this thing is nuts. Hounds of Honduras is just a beating to remove. Now there is the Rolling Boulder in Matt Dog's list that can do it, but that's really about it. Or a Cast to Exile. Trinket and Ring in every deck nowadays. Gigantism to win out of nowhere. Gigantism plus Grapple Shot and a 4/4 like Autumn Unicorn, Dapper Vampire, like any of these things can 20 somebody in a turn. Magic Missiles for some light removal, and Lightning Bolts for some... Oh, I guess with all those Earth Splash, you get a Common Sense. So Common Senses are so absolutely flexible. You can save it until the end of the game and go get a kill spell. If you need to like do a huge tempo turn, you can Common Sense for a grapple and really blow somebody out. Common Senses are just an amazing card in Sorcery. But you can see here, since he's not mono air, he doesn't have the slots for the defensive sites. He's got one free city and no bottomless pits. That's just a simple fact of trying to hit your thresholds. Rift Valleys are really good. Quagmire to slow down a turn. Lookouts, freaking lookouts, man. I don't know how many times I've been playing recently where turn 1 lookout and they get to look at my hand and like, well, that's annoying. Lookouts are really good. I think lookouts could be 3 or 4 ofs in any air deck. And Bower of Bliss, just a hard shut-off Death Speaker. Now, it's 1 in 30, so you won't see it all the time, but it's still good to have there. And then some color fixing stuff. The castles, the Tentagale and Glastonbury Tour, are necessary in this kind of list, I think, just because you're trying to hit double Earth instead of single Earth pips, but they are a vulnerability if somebody has an Atlas Wanderers or a Earthquake or something to move sites around. Tentagale and Glastonbury Tour are pretty good, but they have a downside. So yeah, let's get into the game. So here's game 2. I missed this game start by like 2 or 3 turns. This was recorded at 3 a.m. my time, so I got up a little bit late to catch the very start, but then here's them just going through what had happened. Joffrey was on the play, I think, and he played Color Out of Space into Pebble Pass into Tower to get Sir Boris and Pudge Butcher, and Matt Dog at the top there had a turn 1 Cloud City, and then Tower to move out of the way of the Pudge Butcher, and has a Phase Assassin. So nothing really happened right now. The first couple turns in this AOA mirror match are very interesting, where you're like kind of jockeying for an opening. There's so much movement in AOA, it's really hard to tell what's going to happen next or where your vulnerability is going to be. So a Cloud City is honestly one of the best sites you can have in this matchup, just because it affords you so much flexibility in where you can go. The AOA Earth list that Joffrey has is a little more static and mid-rangey. It does have like the big explosive turns. AOA Mono Air is a little more tricky and a little more movement based. So we can see here the Voidwalk minions are one of the safest minions you can play in the game. Now you can have stealth and other things too, and that really helps. But the stealth is still subjected to like location-based removal instead of targeted removal, like minor explosion or earthquakes. So Joffrey is in a bit of a hard spot right here. It's going to be really hard to get tempo. with all the sites on the back row, one of the strategies of AoA is playing all these void walk minions and playing to your back row, and so you can't attack as your opponent like until turn 4 at the absolute earliest. So that's 3 turns of like board development and playing minions. But AoA then gets to like push things around and attacks you when they want to. This haunt roll is a very interesting choice. So he can either go for that 4 damage and block. It's like the first 5 to 6 turns of an AoA match are very much who blinks first. You can see in Matt Dog's hand, he has a rolling boulder. So that's going to be a really hard time. Like he's going to be looking up for a line to really get a 2-for-1 or maybe a 3-for-1 and deal 4 and keep the boulder. Like that'd be the goal here. And I was talking to Joffrey after this game, and yeah, that the rolling boulder is just a huge difference maker in AoA. With the 50 spell book, you don't see rolling boulder every single game like you used to in 4020, and at least it felt like AoA players always had rolling boulder. So yeah, and we're just still just kind of not wanting to overextend in the early game and get blown out. So yeah, he's gonna back off and go to 10. So no minions have died yet. Just looking for an opening. Just a really, really strange game when you have an AoA mirror. And so I was talking about Lookout. Lookout is huge. Lookout now knows, or Joffrey now knows, there's a rolling boulder to prepare for. And sometimes you can prepare for it, but sometimes you just have to accept that they have a rolling boulder and make them use it almost. It's really hard to play around, especially with Avatar of Air that can fly onto your site, push it back to their site, and then give it to one of their minions. It's really what Avatar of Air does really well is movement control. If Rolling Boulder was played quote unquote fairly, you play it to Leprechaun and you push it, and then your opponent now has the Rolling Boulder. Like, that's what I would consider playing it fairly, but Avatar of Air just gets to say, nope, I'm just going to keep it. And that's the really great power of all the free movement Avatar of Air has. One of the most played spells nowadays is still Blink. Blink draws a card, but the power of it is the movement, the nearby, like the random nearby. So like Avatar of Air can go to 7 or 9, or like Blink is, I want to say an instant spell, but it's something your opponent can think you have and try to play around it, but there's just so many possibilities if you have a blink of where your minions can go. It's just not, it's almost not useful to try to play around it too much. Like you can be aware of it and try, but sometimes you just have to accept if they have a blink, they have a blink, and go from there. So doubles Devil's Egg is very interesting. If Matt Dog can get his bats underground, so like say take the Cloud City and go to Site 12 and then burrow the bats and double egg underneath the tower on 13, something like that. You could just wait and burn out Joffrey. Joffrey did get a ring off of the Highland Princess that can kind of mitigate one Devil's Egg. Double Devil's Egg is a little is a little too much to like ping and heal. You kind of need a divine healing or some kind of big healing spell to really negate all that, like just incidental damage. I'm not really sure I don't remember what Matt Dog does here. All right, so Matt Dog flies up into 7 and probably gonna try to take care of Pudge. He has so many minions, he can just kind of do whatever the hell he wants. Oh, he's gonna push bats and maybe burrow bats. We're just gonna burrow bats. Uh, Push Highland Falconer. I'm unsure what the game plan is. Um, he does only have 4 mana, so maybe this is a rolling boulder turn. Um, yep, here's the rolling boulder. Um, so I think we talked about this afterwards, uh, about controlling the rolling boulder. So ostensibly, you could have done the same thing here and push the Highland Falconer onto Avatar of Air Joffrey's spot, Site 3, and push the boulder and kill both of those, but now Joffrey doesn't have control of the rolling boulder. And then attacks the Pudge to take care of it. So, like, this play is totally fine, um, but just moving your Hound and Falconer to 3 and pushing the boulder to 2 keeps the control of the boulder under your, like, yeah, Joffrey can now like fly over to 2, but it forces him to do some uh, what, how do you call it, spend an action that he normally wouldn't have to spend. So Joffrey gets a lightning bolt. He doesn't have a sight in hand. The lightning bolt will probably be saved for a face assassin or some other small minion just to stem the bleeding. Um, so I'm very because I was going to say I'm interested in why Matt Dog moved his haunt to 11 instead of attacking the kettle top. It's because Joffrey now has control of the boulder. So Joffrey, if the boulder was on 2, Joffrey could have blinked and moved over to 2 and then flew back and then attacked if Mad Dog had done it that way. And I think weirdly this worked out best for Matt Dog to give control to the boulder because then he didn't attack with Haunt and Haunt's still alive. So there's something there. Um, but I think you can be argued both ways. And here, Matt Dog is like, do I take the 2 damage or defend with Free City? I don't really want to give my opponent a free sight. So the 2 damage, I think, is probably like it's worth taking 2 damage than giving your opponent a card, and that's what Matt Dog ends up doing. So here, Joffrey plays the ring, and then it's going to fly up with the ring and start pinging the Highland Falconer into gain 1, just trying to clean up a little bit of Matt Dog's minions and trying to get out of the way of being pushed around. Or no, sorry. Um, Joffrey is trying to keep the control of the boulder. So next turn, uh, Matt Dog could fly from Cloud City onto Site 3 and push the boulder and deal 4 to Joffrey, which would be less than ideal, and then have control of the boulder. And so a lot of the Avatar of Air mirror matches, when boulder is in play, is a little mini game of controlling who owns the boulder. Um, the boulder is just really, really strong. So roll for Headless Haunt, go to 18, which is a very good sight. He can either attack or eat one of your Joffrey's minions, and giving him a sight at this point is kind of a moot point because Joffrey already has a sight, which should say, is a pillar out of, or not a pillar out of space, pillar of zeros. Pillar of zeros can be a huge swing in like the turn cycle where you're both kind of punching each other equally, but I'm one turn ahead of you, so I get you to door first, and then that's a huge advantageous position to be in. And the pillars of zeros can really change that order of, well, I play pillars and now I'm one turn ahead of you because I can now go above that back and forth threshold. So here Matt Dog plays another site, goes to 6 mana, so now he can double egg. Playing Perilous Bridge to 11 or 12, I don't really think changes much. It just gives the yeah, and here's the double egg. So now Joffrey's going to be fighting 4 life loss a turn. This is just a huge clock. Now Matt Dog can attack with Free City, and then Headless Haunt can attack the other Kettletop. I would personally just attack the Lone Tower on, what is that, 13 with both Haunt and Phase Assassin and just go to town. That's 7 damage plus the two eggs. That's 11 damage in a turn cycle, and then Joffrey's at 6, and all you have to do is punch with a bat, and the eggs will take care of him. And so that Joffrey's on a 2-turn clock, essentially. I think Matt Dog takes a little bit of a more conservative route and pushes the Face Assassin down to keep it safe from Rolling Boulder if Joffrey decides to push the Rolling Boulder. But I don't know, another Pudge Butcher. I think it's just going to be a little bit too slow. Pudge Butcher, you play it, you're going to wait a turn, then you have a positioning like thing to do. Like Joffrey can play Pudge Butcher on the tower at 13 and maybe push it with Avatar of Air to somewhere up or down. But that Cloud City is just so much free movement. Cloud City is it feels like an Avatar of Air ability on a land. So now Matt Dog has both of those, has double Avatar of Air abilities to move around, and it's just so much movement to deal with, and it's so hard to pin somebody down to deal damage. Like, the only time Joffrey's gotten to deal damage in this game has been with the Kettletops, and it's just, that's what Avatar of Air does really well, is just removes so much ability of your opponent to deal damage. So attacks with the Kettletop, pings with a core, and then pings with another spell. So double ping off the ring and 2 damage from the Kettletop to kind of clear the board. But again, there is 6 damage under Site 8, just kind of waiting for it to come through. And that flanking maneuver Matt Dog just drew, it doesn't look like the kill spell, but it is the kill spell of the game. It is. You can move to 12 with the Cloud City, flanking maneuver on to 19, and push the boulder out of the hands of Joffrey's Avatar of Air, dealing 4 to it. So that's kind of the that's the surprise element of these like flanking maneuver and blinks that are really, really strong. At this point, Matt Dog just has to wait. Come up, attack with the bat, get in a decent position for a flanking maneuver, let the eggs take care of everything, So Matt Dog goes and does it initially. So push the boulder for 4, takes Joffrey down to 7, and then pushes Avatar of Air into Free City and attacks with. Or I guess he doesn't have to really have to attack with the bat. He can just let the double eggs take care of it and have a minion to do something with. Yep. So it comes up and attacks. I like this play too because you now have a spot where Joffrey's Avatar of Air, which is on Free City, can't fly for free. So what he could do is like walk onto tower at 13 and then fly to 8 and play a Hounds of Honduras. And so Joffrey never had a chance to play Pillars of Zeros. I might have played Pillars of Zeros on the last turn because, when he was at 11, just because there was 6 damage on board. You're kind of at 5 no matter what, and then all Matt Dog has to do is find a little extra damage. It just felt a little dangerous. So healing when you're at like 10 to 13, like that is a danger zone in a lot of games where dealing 10 damage in a turn isn't unheard of. It's a gigantism, it's a boulder push for some, like there's a lot of ways to deal a good chunk of damage. And so whenever I'm 10 to 13 in a lot of games, I'm looking for healing. I want to be at like 15 plus. 15 plus I feel a little bit safer just because there isn't that. I mean, there's still wombo combos, but there isn't 15 damage plus combos that are really easy to come by with like 2 spells. And then here, yeah, Joffrey concedes the game because Devil's Egg and Bats got him to door before he could play Pillars to Zeros, and Matt Dog can just use Avatar of Air's ability to fly over to 12 or fly over to 13 and push the boulder and deal 4 more damage. So nice job on game 2 to Matt Dog. Game 2 here, Matt Dog is again at the top and Joffrey is at the bottom here. Turn 1 for Matt Dog was Highland Falconer. Joffrey was on the play, didn't play anything for the first 2 turns, but looking at the hands here, Joffrey has some bigger minions with Pudge Butcher and Withering Hero, and Matt Dog has a bit of an awkward hand. Wizard's Den's decent for some card advantage. Browse to go fine, maybe Rolling Boulder. Maddening Bells here is a bit of a dead card in the mirror. If you get it on your opponent's side, yeah, can be good, but against an Avatar of Air, they can just push it over to you in like 1 turn if they get a hold of it. It's not the lockout that it really is against a lot of like slower decks. So Matt Dog's on the offensive here with a grapple shot into pushing the Hound Falconer, but here we have a vampire which is going to sustain so easily against a really a small deck, and the only thing that kills vampire is a rolling boulder. So here's the Pudge Butcher. Matt Dog notably this time doesn't have a Cloud City. Wizard's Den can be decent. I guess I get why he spent the grapple shot to like kind of do the first bit of damage, but I feel like grapple shot could be used to help remove a 4 power minion. So holding that in hand would feel good in my opinion. Draws a attack by night, and so this is kind of where I was saying that a higher minion count in this style of list would be more advantageous. So it's just you have a Tooth Fairies, which isn't a big enough minion to really affect anything on the board. Joffrey is at 12 right now, which is pretty low. It's about half, but he's just going to start deploying these bigger and bigger minions. I'm pretty sure at this point Joffrey eats the bats and then plays Pillars of Zeros, and With the mirror realm there, you can get a second pillars and just eat something else with Pudge Butcher. So yep. So Joffrey eats the bat. Um, Here, I think he just plays pillars just to gain a little bit of life, and next turn he can mirror realm or draw a sight and not play it, or like have another mirror realm pillars to zeros like life gain in there. So makes a lot of sense here. And then this is where the tide just starts to turn. It's turn for Avatar of Air on Matt Dog's side had an aggressive start, but the bodies that the Air Earth version can put out are just so much bigger than Avatar of Air Mono Air. It can just kind of snowball from here. Matt Dog's hand is a little awkward with maddening bells. He can Merlin's Tower browse for something. Um, I'd play another Howling Falconer. It's just the minions at this point are just a little bit too big for two twos and three threes to take care of or trade one for one or um, kind of like stay in the trading game. Cards to Mad Dog's gonna have to spend like extra cards to trade into his Pudge Butcher that's a 5/5 or a 4/4. And that's where the Avatar of Air version just kind of falls a little bit short. In 4020, um, you could get away with playing all these little weenies because the the sites were so consistent. You could find Bottomless Pit or Free City and use that as your removal. But with the lower site count, or the higher site count, you have a lower chance of seeing those really crucial sites. So off this browse, Mad Dog got a grapple shot, which makes sense there. He can now he can attack Pudge Butcher with the Highland Falconer, and maybe Joffrey doesn't block. Um, but even if Joffrey doesn't block, he could grapple shot Tooth Fairies into Pudge Butcher, but then he has a blocker for the actual attack. So it's just a rough spot to be in for Mad Dog. And then he flies back because it's just going to get eaten by Pudge Butcher. Makes a lot of sense there. Um, Joffrey could fly over or walk over to Pudge Butcher, push it up, eat Falconer with Withering Hero, and do that, or push Withering Hero and attack for 4. I think that's what Mad Dog is kind of thinking about. And so here comes the another Highland Falconer for just some more chump blockers. Um, and it, this site placement, this site placement by both players is very good. Both players only have one real attack avenue, so 13 and 8. Um, you'll see a lot of really good players control their sites and how where they play them. I personally like to play like in a little 4x4 square if I'm not against Enchantress. So like 7, 8, 3, and 2 is kind of like my go-to just because then I only have 2 spots to defend. But Avatar of Air gets to have like this launch pad of 2 and push it up and attack 13. Now if um, Matt Dog played his Merlin's Tower up to 12, that'd be two more. That'd be another site to defend. So having this setup of this one avenue in the middle makes a lot of sense for Avatar of Air specifically to play like this. If you are struggling in playing games of sorcery and you feel like you're just dying constantly, like by a little attack, it just you have a feeling like I can't stop their attacks or defend any of their attacks, look at your site placement. Your site placement is really, really strong or could use work. So, like in this scenario, this is only turn 4, and only having one avenue to attack is really important. Now later in the games, like if games go longer and like have more sites, yeah, this realm is going to build up a little bit, and that's where like defensive sites really come in. And so you can play a Perilous Bridge on 7, and then um, only one avenue to attack and down through the middle at 8 and 13. So using sites to control your opponent's minions is a very hard skill to learn and a very important skill at that. So Joffrey plays a Plume Pegasus on 2. Again, that launch pad. Just another minion. He has two sites in hand. Glastonbury Tour can go to 4 next to Pudge just fine, and then still have a Mirror Realm for Pillars of Zeros when the graveyards start to get a little more full. So here's the grapple shot and 2/2 trade. This doesn't feel great as Matt Dog's like card advantage. Um, he just has to spend 2 to get rid of 1, and eventually that's just going to run out. Um, so I think Matt Dog is now thinking about pushing Tooth Fairies and attacking 8. So then at the next turn, he could tap down a Pudge or the Plume Pegasus, but again, that's just throwing minions into the fodder without much like forward progress. So yeah, keeping that there. Uh, Joffrey has a magic missiles. Now I'd expect to keep that magic missiles in hand for the kill spell. At when I'm what I know I have in my hand of these 2/4/4s, and I'm only seeing 2/2s and 1/1s on my opponent's side. I'm gonna save that kill spell or finishing spell in hand because anything could happen that I get to door just at the same time as he does. And holding that finishing spell is very important. So there's the Glastonbury Tour, and here comes another 4/4. It's just a constant stream of these bigger minions, and Mad Dog is having a hard time keeping up with just the raw power that's going onto the board. Avatar of Air 4020 got away playing with the Highland Falconer and Palaberry Bats and Plumed Pegasus, and I think their biggest minion was um, like Withering Hero, 4 mana, 4/4 flyer. But past that, it was a bunch of little guys, and so it was a death by 1,000 cuts strategy. This Avatar of Air Earth version is doing really well and putting a lot of power on board. Um, what you kind of need against the red aggro charge stuff. You need to play just bigger minions. You have to play these 4 power minions. A lot of the charge minions are at three toughness, and so you just make it impossible for them to trade. And Matt Dog it did get a really good draw there with the ring. The ring being able to trade these 2/2s into the 3/3s without like trading 2 cards for 1 is very good there. So here comes the Perilous Bridge, and again playing to the back row, giving very little to attack. Headless Haunt can now defend 13, and so it's a little more awkward for Joffrey to um, now attack and use these bigger minions. Tap and draw sight. Um, Interesting play there. Maybe there's an argument to push Pudge Butcher. Um, Pudge Butcher is just so immobile, and so here it's kind of a bit of a blowout with Whirling Blades. Whirling Blades is a huge, huge card. You can take steps, and these are non-interceptable steps because intercept only cares about the tap and move ability. And so this was the like a blowout turn where you play one spell and you can get a 2-for-1, deal damage, and gain life. Just a huge swing. So here comes the haunt roll. We get a 19, so or a 10, so still a bit of a dead spot. Um, Haunt is a good defensive blocker for a turn, and Haunt if you get to hit with it once throughout the turn or throughout the game, it's done its job. Because a lot of times in sorcery, you only get to play a minion and attack once before it gets removed, if that. So haunts feel bad when you need them to roll and you need that tempo, you need that attack, but they are very evasive creatures or minions. Um, so Matt Dog here drew another kind of dead card in this scenario. This board state. He's at 6. Joffrey's at 20. Um, Devil's Egg is just not going to have enough pressure and be quick enough to like turn the tide of this game. Uh, I think the best that Matt Dog could probably do is fly to the tower and then walk over to um, the wizard's den and kind of like get away from uh, a known kill or an attack when you're at death's door. Even that's a little sketchy. In this scenario, it's going to be really hard to come back without like an efficient removal spell. So like I know he's in the air, so he kind of needs rolling boulder. This is the argument for splashing into other colors. Like if you were fire, you could have another out a poison nova or something. Joffrey has gigantism here, uh, just a door um, in this turn, and then he can now set up for in 2 turns. So take on a door this turn, and then fly, take a step at the tower, and then now you're within range of using magic missiles. So again, this is very important skill to learn. You can get them to door, but also you need to think about your next 2 turns on how you're going to um, finish the game. A lot of times I see a lot of newer players get somebody to death's door, but not be able to finish the game, and their opponent is on death's door for like 3 or 4 turns, and it's just that idea of planning ahead and trying to catch somebody out. So here comes a good haunt roll, but Joffrey's at 20. Dapper Vampire is a turn too late. Um, so Joffrey wins this game. I hate to break it to you, a little early, but um, nice job, Joffrey. Joffrey won round 1, lost round 2 to a Cloud City and Boulder, but was able to close it out on round 3 here. So I would like to say thank you again to Philosopher Cards for running this league. It's always fun to see um, more leagues pop up, more competition. It's really enjoyable to watch and see what people are playing. Congrats to Matt Dog. This was a rough game for Avatar of Air to go into. The bigger minions are just really hard. And congrats to Joffrey. Um, they are uh, is a very good European player and deserves this win absolutely. And I also I like to say this move to 12 with Headless Haunt is a pretty smart move. I guess it blocks projectiles a little bit, but here Joffrey is able to fly over to Merlin's tower and then take a step and then use a projectile to finish it off. And then there's the Maddening Bells and just some conversation of post game review. But again, thank you everybody. I'll see you next week. I got a surprise with Roaring Turkey coming next week, so thank you.